if you're an entrepreneur or you're in business, then unless you've been living in a cave for the last few years, you probably know who Alex Hormozi is, right? So, short introduction to him. He's basically a very famous entrepreneur on YouTube, one of the most popular influencers on business in the last few years. So I'm not going to give you a lot on what he is, because you probably already know that, but I'm going to share my perspective on what I think about his books and just his philosophy and the way he teaches. So I've been reading his books, $100 million offers and $100 million leads, $100 million money models. And so I think these books, they are inspiring to read because they share the personal story of Alex. And I think that's really, it's amazing to hear about his perseverance, the challenges he faced along the way, and just his raw grit and things like that. And I think that's something that really inspires me. And it's amazing to hear about that, because that also portrays the reality of the game. On the other hand, some things I don't like about him, and this might not be a popular opinion, but I think in his books he shares a lot of quick and dirty tactics. For example, he doesn't tend to go in that much strategical detail of how he goes about things. He just shares tactics, here's this works, use this. Then another tactic, here's the the price reduction you can use. Here's the scarcity, the urgency trick. But other than that, it doesn't go into that much detail and that much depth, which is why I think it is not a very deep book. But that said, I do think it is. It does have a lot of insights, especially if you are starting. And also, just even though his ideas are not complex or not deep, they are sometimes very interesting. And for example, one thing is the equation that he has right on the, I don't know exactly what it's but it's effort, sacrifice, time, things like that. He basically has an equation of how to get the best results for the customer, or how to persuade him the best. And these things, they all make sense, but when you write it down in paper and when you read it, you actually start to think about that. Am I actually doing those things? And that's where Alex is great, right? Because he's not a deep. I want to be careful with my words, because he's definitely not. He's definitely an intelligent person, but at the same time, he's not someone who really goes into complex things. He just keeps things simple. But that's also his strength, right? Because the way he's just reminding you of the things you probably already know you should do, but then just making it a reality and reminding you of it again. Because that's also the truth, right? Oftentimes we don't even need a very deep or complex strategy. We just need to do the things that we know we should be doing. So it's just he just reminds you of that. So I think, there's definitely a lot of things that we can learn from him. At the same time, I don't always him oversimplifying things. That's my preference, but I know it's also probably part because he has such a large audience, and he probably needs to keep things simple to keep up the million views or things I don't know, but that's what I think. So I'm inspired by his story, by the way he grew his businesses, from starting with gyms, struggling there, sleeping on the floor in garages and things like that. So I think, it shows that if you want to get somewhere, if you want to get somewhere big, you need to make big sacrifices as well, right? So that is cool because that is the reality that's reflected. And not everyone does that anymore these days. So I think that's cool. Also, he's known for both sales and marketing, right? So, you know, in his business and in his work, he actually got the most success and improvement in his business because of his advertising. Because his advertising is what brought in new leads and new customers for the person he was working for at the time. So that was the way he built up his entrepreneurial expertise. And then after he did that, I think he started his own gym, and then he used the leads, the advertisements on Facebook again. So that was like a cool thing. And I know he also has like some experience in sales, but I know that once he met his wife, Layla, that she was doing most of that. So I think Alex is like mostly like a marketing guy and just like an entrepreneur business guy. And then a little bit of sales as well. So I think that's cool. It's not the way I am. I also like both sales and marketing, but personally I prefer sales a little bit more. So I'm just slightly different type of entrepreneur, but you know, I think there is an interesting perspective to every way of going about entrepreneurship. Yeah, there's tech people, there's marketing people, there's sales people, there's product people, there's CFOs, things like that. So I think everything is interesting. That's my perspective, but my personal preference is just sales mostly. So, you know, that's just a little bit about me. But yeah, I'm gonna keep this video short because I don't know what to talk about. But let me know if you enjoyed this. Check out my next video if you guys want. And see you guys next week. Cheers.